Hi everyone, we're here to talk today about the arrival exam and finale jog for the Retired Racehorse Project Thoroughbred Makeover. The arrival exam and finale jog are sponsored by Keeneland, After the Finish Line, Haggard Equine Medical Institute, and the American Association of Equine Practitioners. I'm Shannon Reed, a board-certified equine surgeon with a special interest in research and publications on racehorses retiring into another life. The reason why we created the arrival exam and the finale jog is the Retired Racehorse Project wants to showcase thoroughbreds in the best light. We want to show people that they can retire from racing and enter into competition, pleasure riding, whatever, as a healthy, excellent partner. So we're saying to competitors, come here with your horse in the best body condition score, ready to soundly perform and showcase ourselves to the world. For competitors and volunteers that have come in the past and witnessed the arrival exam, you should know that this year we've added a new touch, the finale jog. Horses that qualify for the finale will be examined in a special way to make sure that they're sound and well representative of us in that final day. So there's going to be several different portions to your arrival. The first portion is going to be you checking in. You're going to get details about the exact time and place for that for your makeover, but the check-in for the competitors is where you're going to arrive, give them your information, pick up your competitor's packet, your saddle pad, and any last-minute details or information for you. The arrival exam for the horse will also have several different portions. The first portion is going to be us checking your paperwork. The paperwork that we're going to need for you to participate in the makeover is a Coggins certificate, a health certificate for travel, and vaccination records. Those certificates should reflect two different things. Your travel itself, so they need to be legal for the countries and states that you're traveling through. If you have questions about that, check with your veterinarian or the state veterinarian of those locations, and for the state of Kentucky. Once we check the Coggins and the health certificate, we're going to be looking for vaccine records. And the specific vaccine records we're going to need to see for the makeover is the herpes vaccine, commonly referred to as rhino in the vaccine protocols. That vaccine needs to be administered between 14 days prior to the makeover and 6 months prior to the makeover. So you can't give it before you get on the trailer to come. It needs to fit within that time period. And we need to have proof of that vaccination one of these three ways. It either needs to be listed with the date and the manufacturer and the horse's name on the health certificate that is signed by your veterinarian. Most veterinarians know how to do that just fine. We could take a receipt from your veterinarian with the horse's name, the vaccine name, and the date as well. Or your veterinarian can provide a letter on letterhead that the horse has received the vaccine name, the horse's name, and the date at which it was administered. So we're going to need to see proof that your horse has been vaccinated for the herpes virus before they arrive. Again, between 14 days out and 6 months out. So check those dates, make sure you're in compliance, and get that done ahead of time. After your horse has been checked for paperwork for your horse, we're going to check them for a microchip. The microchip needs to be one that is registered with the Jockey Club. It doesn't have to be a microchip from the Jockey Club, but it needs to be registered with them. Many of your horses will already be microchipped, so go ahead and check that first. And we're going to need to check that that number matches the number that we have for your horse on our records. So the microchip is also going to be a part of that. And then the last sort of or the next sort of chunk is going to be actually an exam of your horse by a veterinarian and a veterinary student there. What we're going to be looking at your horse is the vitals. We're going to do a TPR on your horse. We're going to do a body condition score, and we're going to observe your horse moving about. Let's go over the actual exam of your horse. There's actually two parts to that in the makeover now. The first part is going to be the initial arrival exam. In the initial arrival exam, after we've checked the paperwork and the microchip, a veterinarian will be doing an exam on your horse. Each horse will be handled with proper biosecurity protocols, so there will be gloves and hand washing in between horses, so you don't have to worry about that. And the time and place for your arrival exam for your horse will be published well in advance so you know where to be. What we're going to do with your horse is we're going to do what's called a TPR. We're going to take a temperature, pulse, and respiration to make sure that those fall within the normal levels. We'll go ahead and take a general look at the horse, and if they have any scratches, blemishes, or swellings, we're just going to ask you about them, and we're going to talk about what's going on with those. Then we're going to move on to doing a body condition score on your horse. So after we do the TPR on your horse, we're going to go ahead and do a body condition score. There's lots of information on the website about what body condition score system we're using, which is the Henneke body condition score system. For those of you that are wondering what's going to happen if my horse travels and things like that, body condition score is looking at multiple different areas on the horse and looking at their fat reserves, their muscle, things like that. A horse that travels and loses a bit of water weight or needs a little bit of time to settle in is not going to change body condition scores just from traveling. So when we do that body condition score, we're actually going to be hands-on with it. We're going to probably need to touch your horse and feel some areas so that we can see what's going on. And we're actually going to be scoring 4 different parts of the horse, adding those scores together, and then dividing by 4 so that we come up with the body condition score. So it's not a veterinarian walking up, kind of looking at your horse and saying, 4. It's a pretty rigorous process. So we're going to evaluate the horse through the neck musculatures and the fat tissue there, through the back and the lumbar vertebrae area, over the ribs, and then over the tail head and the hind musculature. So those areas are all going to be looked at and scored separately. We'll divide it up and we'll come up with a body condition score for your horse. So the minimum body condition score for horses competing in the makeover is 4. The Henneke body condition score runs from a 1 to a 9, with a 1 body condition score being emaciation and life-threatening, and a 9 being obese, and some would argue also life-threatening. We've settled on a 4, because with a body condition score of 4, we know that your horse is safe to travel, and they're fit and well to be used. So again, when we do that body condition score, we're going to be looking at multiple areas on the horse. The first area we're going to be evaluating is the neck area. So we're going to look across the top line of the neck and we're going to see, is there musculature there? How are those muscles filled out? And even is there fat there? So on this particular horse, he's got a nice neck with a reasonable amount of muscle. He's not overly conditioned, so I would probably put him somewhere around a 5 for this area. So that's going to be our score number 1. The other scores that we're going to do is we're going to look along the top line. And it's the entire top line generalized. So if your horse has high withers, we're not grading the height of the withers. We're grading the musculature and the fat reserves of that area. So for this horse, I can run my hand along him and I can feel the muscles and not the vertebrae underneath. So we're going to again put him at a 5 for this area here, all the way through. The third area we're going to look at is the thorax and the ribs. We want to look, can we see the ribs just by looking at the horse? And then if we can't see them, can we feel them? And if we can't feel them, that moves them up even higher on the body condition score. For this horse, over his ribs, he's probably almost a 6, a 5 to a 6 here, okay? So that's going to be his score for that area. The last area that we're going to look at is sort of over the butt muscles and the tail head. And again, if your horse has a prominent hunter's bump, that's the bones. It's not what we're looking at. What we're looking at is the muscle cover and the fat cover to that area. So he's nicely rounded through here, but he's not overly round. So again, we put him somewhere between a 5 and a 6, and we could even bump him up to a 5.5. That's possible on the body condition score. So we'd take those numbers, we'd add them all together, and we'd divide them by 4, and we would solidly put this horse at a 5, maybe even a little bit higher. So he would be good to go. We're going to talk about a second horse, and the reason we're going to talk about this horse is because he's a little bit closer to the time coming off the track. He's about 45 days off the track. But just because your horse is fit doesn't mean that we're going to have problems with the body condition score, because the body condition score is looking at muscle and fat over the entire horse. For those of you with horses that are a little shorter in their time off the track, continue working on their body condition score, but assess them in the way in which you see them right then and there. So we'll take a look at this horse. I'm going to flip his mane over here so we can look a little bit. We're going to start looking at the neck. And when we look at his neck through here, he says, don't flip my mane over. We're going to look, and he has a reasonable musculature along here. He doesn't have quite as much fill as the other horse, so we would put him somewhere between a 4 and a 5, because I can feel the muscle there. I'm not feeling the tendons and things underneath. Then we would move along to his back, and again, we're looking at the entire back, and when I'm moving down the back, I'm feeling for what's called the transverse processes of the spine. I can't feel those, and I have musculature here, but not as much fat reserve as the other horse. So he's again going to be a 4 down through here. If I were to step back a little bit, we're going to look at his rib space, and you can see his ribs. That's not bad on fit horses. We should be able to see their ribs, but if I feel between them, there's muscle and some fat reserve there. So we're going to put him at about a 4 there as well. And if we come through the area where we transition from his back into his hind end here, he's got some muscle there, but he's in that weird period where horses start to lose some of their track muscle and have to build back into new muscle. So he's going to be close to the edge of a 4 here. But because he has other parts that balance him out, he's going to solidly land in the 4 body condition score. And he would be, again, good for showing at the RRP makeover. So to recap what we talked about today, the body condition score set for horses arriving for the makeover is going to be a 4. Remember, we're going to look at multiple areas on the body. We're going to grade those individual areas, add them up, get an average, and come up with your body condition score. Remember, the scale is on a scale of 1 to 9. And we feel that a 4 is a starting point, and so does research, that allows those horses to be healthy and ready to perform. So we're going to look at the entire horse, we're going to take a feel of things, we're going to average things together, and we're going to want your horse to be at a minimum of 4 for the makeover. So now we're going to talk about the last part of the arrival exam. So this is for every horse competing in the makeover that they will need to complete this. This is basically the intro soundness exam. Your horse will be observed on a hard surface. So if your horse needs boots, if they're barefoot for that, they can wear them during this. If they're shod, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you present to the veterinarian. The time and the place will be announced, don't worry. You're going to present to the veterinarian, and the veterinarian at the arrival exam for the initial portion is going to observe your horse at the walk on a firm surface. We're also going to ask them to turn a circle in each direction. We feel that watching the horses walk on a firm surface and circle in each direction gives us a good idea on whether or not the horse is comfortable enough to move about the park. So another component to soundness at the makeover is the finale jog. So for all horses that qualify to compete in the finale, which is the top 5 from each category, there will be a finale jog. The time and exact place for this jog will be announced to let you know where you're supposed to be. The finale jog will be observed by veterinarians, the steward, and RRP officials, and each horse participating will need to pass the finale jog. If the horse does not pass on the first go, they may wait at the area to go again after the other competitors. So the finale jog will consist of presenting your horse to the jury. The jury will take a look at the horse kind of from a couple different angles, and then the horse will present at the jog. Go ahead, Gracie. It's kind of hot here today. Thank you, Gracie. So at the end of the jog, your horse will either get the nod of approval or you'll be held to represent. Just a few more points to make. We want to remind you that the makeover is under the USEF drug rules. If you're unfamiliar with those, they're available online, and veterinarians can help you to navigate that process. But remember, medications are going to be under those rules. Horses that have not yet participated and passed the arrival exam can school, but you are not allowed to compete until you've passed the arrival exam. The passing of the arrival exam will be logged within the computer system, and you will have a way in which to indicate that you have taken part in it. So let's talk about what happens if a horse doesn't pass the arrival exam. The first time through, if your horse is flagged for an issue, another veterinarian will examine your horse. That second veterinarian will not have knowledge of the specific reason that your horse is representing, so there'll be a fresh set of eyes. If your horse still does not pass with the second veterinarian, we're allowing a third exam to occur with the head steward and a third veterinarian. Again, the reason for not passing through is not going to be disclosed. That exam will be a brand new one. And at that point, if the horse is deemed by 3 separate veterinarians as not passing, they will not participate in the makeover. If the horse does not pass in the finale jog, that horse will not participate in the finale and will automatically be placed in 5th place. Thanks for watching our video about the arrival exam and finale jog. Now is a great time to check in with the process and what you're going to need. Go ahead and have your veterinarian out and look at the body condition score on your horse. Make sure your vaccines are in order and that you know the paperwork you're going to need for the arrival. If you need additional resources, the RRP has multiple webinars and videoed seminars that are available on nutrition, body condition scoring, what's going to happen at the makeover. All those things are available from the RRP. Additionally, if you have questions specific to your horse and your scenario, go ahead and contact us and we'll help direct you to some resources that can help get you there in the best shape possible. We're going to take one last opportunity to thank our wonderful sponsors. We have Keeneland sponsoring the arrival exam, After the Finish Line sponsoring our competitor registration, Haggard Equine Medical Institute providing veterinary support, and the AAP Foundation for the Horse supporting the upgrading in our paperless protocols.